And talking about the BBC, I sent you an article about Mary Beard, the historian.
Yep.
And I don't know. She is a Labour supporter, or has been. Apparently, she was a Labour Party member.
I would guess she is.
And then she's
on the BBC.
And then she's on the BBC. We're talking about as well. And she also she was a member of the Labour Party, but then left after Blair resigned, finished or whatever. But she wrote an article. She was interviewed, probably on the BBC. I don't know. I don't know how I read this, but it might be in the Telegraph. But she said some interesting things, and I don't think she realised what she was saying. And she was talking about populism and she said, and she's a historian, so she's actually a very good historian, by the way. So, but she said a populist uprising is a democratic uprising, in that it comes from dissatisfaction and discontent. So, she's linked here populists to democracy, basically. She's saying something that you and I have been saying for a long time, that populism is simply popular because it's a democratic feeling, and that it comes from dissatisfaction. She's relating this to the Roman Empire. And she said it comes from dissatisfaction and discontent. And then she said the reason that people like Farage and Trump come to power is because nobody is responding to the people's discontent. And she then went on to compare Nigel Farage, again unknowingly I think, to Julius Caesar. Now Julius Caesar is one of the greatest leaders that Rome ever had. He is the one that basically created the Roman Empire from the Roman democracy, if you like. He straddled between Roman leaders and Roman.
No, he was the first emperor.
Yeah, he became the first emperor. I think it was. Was it Alexander? Not Alexander, who came after him. Constantine. I can't remember who his name was, but it was. Yeah, I didn't know this stuff. But so she's actually saying here, which is really interesting because it's Mary Beard. She's actually saying that populism is in fact democracy, and that in fact the reason that Trump and people like Farage become popular is because they are responding to a level of discontent in the people that is not recognised by any of the parties. Do you think that's true? I
read that and thought, I don't know why she wrote it. Don't we all know that to be true? I thought it was so plainly obvious that I don't think she needs to write it.
I think you and I know it to be true, and I think it's very unusual for somebody like her to say that in the mainstream. To actually somebody who is a very well respected person. I agree with you. To me and you, I think it is true.
Every successful leader does that.
Yeah.
They find their base. They present themselves as basically the Messiah. I'll save you. Let's go back from Hitler, Mussolini, De Gaulle, Churchill, Blair, Thatcher, Trump, Obama. All successful politicians create that environment where they're seen as the saviour, because the saviour really is the tribal leader. And if you can make the people think you're the tribal leader, our genetics for most people make us obey the leader, because it's the only way the tribe survives. So this was just plainly obvious to me. The only surprise, because she's BBC, was she referenced Caesar instead of Hitler.
Yes, that's what you would have thought she would have done. By the way, the first emperor was Augustus, I just remembered. I don't think technically Julius Caesar was an emperor, but if any of our gentle listeners would like to correct me or Nick on that, we'd appreciate your input. You're looking slightly dubious.
If this was,
it's not Mastermind.
If this was Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, I'd take the money at this point.
Really?
I think Julius Caesar was the first, but I wouldn't bet money on it.
I think Julius Caesar...
Because that's why after him they called them all Caesars.
I think Julius Caesar was appointed as a leader. I can't remember what the leader of the Roman...
the Senate.
He was the leader of the Senate. I think towards the end of his reign, he started to regard himself as an emperor, but I think the first true emperor was Augustus, who wasn't actually called Augustus originally. I can't remember his original name. He was called something else and he was renamed. Who I think was a stepson of Julius Caesar.
Right. One of our listeners, please comment.
Yeah, please let us know, because I always hate to prove Nick wrong. So sorry, just going back to your point about Mary Beard. Yes, normally these people, these government BBC shills tend to link people like Farage to Hitler, but something strange happened here. That she did two things, this is why I think it's a bit weird. And in the Daily Skeptic as well, they said she did it unknowingly, but I don't think she did do it unknowingly. You've read the article. She seems very lucid in the way she's saying it. Firstly, she links populism to democracy, which in itself is a big leap for anything in the mainstream media and for a BBC shill to say. And then she links Farage to Julius Caesar, who is an admirable historical figure.
We perceive him to be so. Yeah, it's not criticism to call someone you're like Julius Caesar. Thank you.
I mean, he was a brute. He was a horrific man in terms of the brutality.
Yeah, but I wouldn't. Yeah, but that's not seen in our society now as a criticism.
No.
Populism is democracy, and there's different types of democracy. Populism is a type of democracy, but what we need to be careful of. So people are always wanting more referendums and things like that. We need to be careful of the tyranny of the majority over the minority. So just because you can get 60% of people to vote for something, we think, oh, that's democracy. But not if those 60% of people are voting against the privileges, the rights, the lives of someone else. So it wouldn't have been that long ago in this country where if we had the majority, the tyranny of the majority, well, put homosexuals to death, and maybe you'd get 60-70% of the population going, I'll vote for that.
Yeah.
In some areas in the UK, you'd get that now. So we need to always be wary of the tyranny of the majority. But populism is a form of democracy. But democracy by itself isn't the answer, because it's flawed by itself. And what we don't seem to realise in the West is democracy is an experiment. We've had democracy in this country now for what, 200 years? Well, 100 years?
Is that when women got the vote and working men got the vote? Men got the vote in 1918. Women got the vote 10 years later, 1928. No, you mean all men got the vote?
All men got the vote.
Men had the vote before men.
Only a very small percentage.
Yeah.
Some women had the vote before that.
Yeah.
We've got records of women voting.
Yeah, there was a form of voting, although
it was all based on power and land ownership and all that sort of stuff. But you'd say we had what we call now democracy for the last 100 years. It's an experiment. Did you like that video? I think you did. Hit the bell, give it a big thumbs up, comment, and don't forget, I'm standing for election in Oldham East and Saddleworth. So please share this video, speak to your family and friends if you live in Greater Manchester, and if you live in Oldham East and Saddleworth, make sure you vote for me. Catch you soon.